Shading is the process of adding value to create the illusion of form, space, and most importantly, light in a drawing. When executed correctly, shading can make a drawing appear three-dimensional and create a convincing image. This means that shading, or more accurately adding value, is incredibly important to create a successful drawing. Value refers to the darkness or lightness of a color. Lighter values typically are used to communicate the highlights and location where light is hitting the subject. Darker values are used to communicate the location of shadow. Then the illusion of the object is also communicated. We are able to see because of the light from an object can move through space and reaches our eyes. Once light reaches our eyes, signals are sent to our brain and our brain deciphers the information in order to detect the appearance of the object. The shape of the shadow is determined by three factors: the shape of the form, the position of the light source in relation to the form, and the observer's position. The shape of this object is sphere, so the lighter and darker area is equally divided. The proper or local color of this sphere is here, and different values of this local color is created by the light hitting on this object. This sphere is also an opaque object, so the light can't pass through it, and a shadow will be created behind the object. This shadow is just opposite of the light source. When this sphere is drawn on a 2D surface, we can see the illusion of sphere by adding different values of shading. Shading techniques for drawing. Techniques used for applying shading to an object are quite varied. Each technique produces a different texture and feel to the drawing. The drawing medium used may determine the shading technique that is applied in the drawing. The most common application techniques include hatching, lines drawn in the same direction. By drawing lines closer together, darker values are created. Leaving more space between lines result in lighter values. For rounded objects, the lines may curve slightly around the form, following the contours of the object. Cross hatching. Lines cross over each other. The density at which the lines cross over each other determine the value that is produced. Blending. Smooth gradation of value are produced either by adjusting the amount of pressure applied to the medium or by using a blending tool such as blending stump. Rendering. Using an eraser to remove the medium to produce lighter values. This technique is typically used to conjunction with blending. Scumbling method. Using small circles continuously to create different values in shading. When the density and pressure of the circles increase, the darker value will be created. When the density and pressure of the circles decrease, the lighter value will be created. Stippling, applying countless small dots to build up darker values in drawing. The density of the dots determine the value produced. Locations of value. The locations of each area of value on the subject tell the viewer about the location of light and how the light behaves on the subject. The behavior of light, or how it is reflected on the subject, informs us about the texture and form of the subject. Highlight. The highlight is the location on the subject where the reflection of light is most intense. Highlights are typically indicated by a very light value of the color, or some cases white. Midtone. Midtones are areas on the subject where some light is hitting, but in a manner that is less intense than the highlight. In many cases, the midtone is the actual color or value of the subject. Core shadow. The core shadow is the area on the subject where light is prevented from hitting, producing an area of shadow. Core shadows are typically darker values of the local color. Cast shadow. Cast shadows are locations of darker value that result on surrounding objects or surfaces. Light is blocked from reaching these areas completely because another object is reflecting much of the light away. Reflected highlight. Some light is reflected back of surrounding objects and surfaces. This light bounces back onto objects, producing an area of lighter value. This area of slightly lighter values referred to as reflected highlight.